Have you ever watched an intense K-drama scene and thought, wow, the chemistry? Now imagine discovering that, on the other side of the camera, the actor didn't want to be there. Today, you are going to learn about 5 times Korean actors filmed scenes not out of desire, but out of obligation. When Kang accepted the role in Nevertheless, he knew he was signing up for a more mature romantic drama. Kisses, physical contact, tension between characters, that was all part of the package. The problem was that, in practice, what was put in front of him went far beyond what he imagined when he signed the contract. Throughout filming, the script began to include scenes that were increasingly explicit, longer, and more intimate, many of which were not clear at the start of the project. In later interviews, Kang let slip that several of these scenes were extremely uncomfortable, both physically and mentally. He recounted having to repeat kisses and contact scenes multiple times under the watchful eye of the crew, cameras, and a tight schedule. There wasn't much room to question it. When you are already in the middle of a big production, with money invested, a crew hired, and a network expecting results, simply not wanting to isn't a real option. The actor also mentioned a silent pressure to deliver intensity. It wasn't enough to act. He had to convince the audience it was real, even when, internally, the discomfort was growing. In scenes like this, a mistake isn't just technical. The mistake becomes embarrassment, and embarrassment becomes exhaustion. At times, Kang admitted he left the set mentally drained, trying to separate acting from the real impact those scenes were having on him. The discomfort didn't come just from physical exposure, but from the feeling that the character was being pushed to a place that he, as an actor, didn't feel emotionally prepared to sustain for so long. And the most delicate point is that Kang never publicly said, "I was forced." But when an actor says he felt pressured, that he didn't expect that level of intimacy, that the script changed halfway through, and that he was already contractually bound, the message is clear to anyone who can read between the lines. Nevertheless became a hit, went viral, opened doors for his international career, and consolidated his image as an actor in adult romances. But it also left a mark, because not every scene that looks intense on screen was filmed with comfort behind the scenes. Sometimes the audience sees chemistry, sometimes they see courage, but the actor feels obligation. And in this silent game of the K-drama industry, where refusing isn't an option and questioning can cost a career, those in front of the camera almost never have the control they seem to have. Unlike many cases where discomfort comes from physical exposure, IU's case in My Mister was even more silent, and for many, heavier. Because there, what was being demanded of her wasn't her body, but her mind. When accepting the role, IU knew it was a dense, adult, and emotionally difficult drama. What she didn't imagine was the level of psychological wear and tear those scenes would require. In later interviews, the singer and actress revealed that the character drove her to an extremely delicate emotional state, to the point where she couldn't disconnect from the suffering even offset. There were scenes where IU needed to access deep feelings of abandonment, guilt, and loneliness repeatedly, under the pressure of a team that needed intensity, truth, and raw emotion. It wasn't just crying in front of the camera. It was reliving internal pain until the take was perfect. She even admitted that she cried alone after filming, emotionally exhausted, feeling that the role was crossing a healthy limit. But even so, the scenes continued. Because when you take on a lead role in a drama of this magnitude, quitting or asking to lighten the tone is simply not seen as an acceptable option. IU also commented that there were moments when she wondered if she had made the right choice, but she was already too committed to back down. The script demanded more, the director demanded more, and the audience, unknowingly, expected even more. The pain needed to look real, and to look real oftentimes, it needed to be truly felt. The most disturbing part is that no one forced her with screams or threats. The pressure was subtle, professional, silent, the kind that leaves no visible marks but charges a high price on the inside. IU never said she didn't want to film those scenes, but she made it clear that there were moments when she didn't feel emotionally prepared to continue, and yet she continued. My Mister became one of Korea's most acclaimed dramas, praised exactly for IU's emotional depth. But few ask what it costs an actor to deliver a performance so real, because sometimes the scene ends, but the weight remains. Not all obligations in the industry are physical. Some are emotional, and those are often the hardest to refuse. When Something in the Rain began filming, Haiin believed he was entering a sensitive and delicate romance. The initial proposal was to tell a mature story, with contained affection, silences, and feelings that grew gradually. And in the beginning, that was exactly what the audience saw. The problem arose when, throughout production, the tone of the drama began to change. The romantic scenes became longer, more repetitive, and more insistent. Kisses that needed to be reshot several times, moments of intimacy extended beyond necessity, all in the name of capturing the perfect emotion. To the viewer, it might seem normal. To the person there, repeating the same gesture under pressure, it isn't always so. In interviews after the drama ended, Haiin let a certain discomfort show. He commented that some scenes were emotionally draining and that the direction the romance took, especially in the second half of the story, no longer represented what he believed about the characters. Still, filming continued. Because the script was already written, the episodes were scheduled, and the actor had a commitment to fulfill. The discomfort didn't come just from physical contact, but from the sensation of acting in something that no longer made sense to him. Even when an actor feels the story has lost coherence, or that the repetition of scenes is excessive, questioning creative decisions in a production of this size rarely changes anything. The most one can do is move forward and deliver what was asked. Haiin never directly stated that he didn't want to film specific scenes, but when an actor admits he felt frustrated with the romance's development, that he was uncomfortable with the insistence on certain sequences, and that he had no choice but to continue, the message is implicit. Obligation doesn't need to be declared to be felt. Something in the Rain ended divided, loved by some, criticized by others. And amidst it all remained the image of an actor who had to sustain a romance on screen even when, behind the scenes, he no longer believed in that story. In the drama industry, the actor doesn't always film because they want to. Sometimes they film because they have to, and that completely changes how that scene is lived, even if the audience never notices. When Sohi was cast in The World of the Married, she was still a relatively unknown actress. That role represented a rare opportunity, a big-budget drama, massive audience, and national visibility. Refusing wasn't something that even crossed the mind of someone at the start of their career. And that was exactly where the problem began. The script required extremely intense scenes, including explicit sexual sequences and emotional and physical exposure far above the standard for dramas. In later interviews, Sohi commented that she was scared by the impact of these scenes, not just during filming, but mainly after the drama aired. The way her image was marked by the role caught her completely off guard. She has made it clear that, the moment she accepted the role, she didn't fully grasp how it would define her career and public image. Many scenes were filmed under silent pressure, the pressure to prove talent, not to disappoint the production, not to seem difficult in an industry that doesn't usually forgive young actresses who set boundaries too early. Sohi never stated she was literally forced, but she also never hid that there was a clear power imbalance. A rookie actress without an established name, facing experienced directors, producers, and a network expecting results. When everyone around you expects you to deliver maximum intensity, questioning becomes a risk few can afford to take. After the drama's thunderous success came the praise and the weight. The actress commented that she felt trapped by the image created by that role and needed time to understand what it meant for her identity as an artist and a person. The success came accompanied by exposure she didn't consciously choose, but accepted because she saw no alternative. The World of the Married became a phenomenon, and Sohi became a household name in Korea. But the road there wasn't comfortable, because sometimes an actor's yes isn't a genuine desire. It's just the only possible answer at that moment in their career. In the drama industry, not every agreement is made on equal footing, and when the choice is between accepting or disappearing, obligation speaks louder than will. Among all the cases on this list, Lee Jun's in Gapdong is one of the most cited in Korea when discussing actors placed in situations they didn't fully accept. Because here, unlike the other examples, the problem wasn't just emotional discomfort or artistic pressure, it was a lack of clear consent. Lee Jun later revealed that the famous frontal nudity scene was not explicitly described in the original script. According to him, there was an indication of a strong, intense scene, but the real level of exposure only became clear on the day of filming. When he realized what would be required, he was already on set, with cameras ready, the crew positioned, and a schedule that allowed for no delays. At this point, the choice stops being simple. Refusing didn't just mean saying no, it meant delaying an entire production, creating conflict with the director, gaining a reputation as a problematic actor, and possibly compromising future contracts. For an actor who was still consolidating his career outside the Idol label, the risk was enormous. Lee Jun went as far as to say he felt cornered. There was no time to renegotiate, discuss boundaries, or rethink the scene. The decision had to be made right there, under pressure, with everyone waiting for an immediate answer. And in this type of environment, yes often doesn't come from desire, but from fear of the consequences of no. After the scene aired, the impact was immediate. The audience reacted with shock. The media covered it intensely, and Lee Jun's image was marked by that specific moment. Only later, when he spoke openly about what happened behind the scenes, did it become clear that it hadn't been a conscious and comfortable choice. This case sparked an important debate in the Korean industry. To what extent does an actor really consent when crucial changes are made at the last minute? When information isn't clear from the start, the contract stops being a fair agreement and starts functioning like a trap. Lee Jun never described described the experience as explicit trauma, but he made it clear that it was an episode that made him deeply rethink his boundaries as an actor. Because no performance should require someone to cross a line that wasn't clearly and honestly accepted. And perhaps this is the harshest point of all. Not every obligation comes with screams. Sometimes it comes disguised as professionalism, urgency, and silence. When the camera turns on, the audience sees courage, but the actor often feels they had no choice.